Hello, good morning. I would like to read a small poem with you today. The name of the poem is Beannacht, which is an Irish word meaning blessing. Well, this is a poem by the Irish poet, philosopher, and priest John O'Donoghue. John O'Donoghue was born in 1950 and he died in 2008. Uh, in between those 2 years, he developed himself as an articulate spiritual thinker, a wonderful poet, a serving priest, and a wonderful friend to many people. And he became a charismatic figure by 1990s when he published his best-known work called Anam Cara. Now, a word about that particular work. Anam Cara is a Celtic concept. So Anam means soul, Cara means friend. So Anam Cara is soul friend, if you could put it that way. So this particular book by John O'Donoghue is about the meaning and beauty of friendship. He talks about how two people can unite in an eternal bond in which your friend is your soulmate, with whom you can share everything and who will guide you, mentor you, help you find your inner beauty. So the concept is wonderful. The book went on to become an international bestseller, and John O'Donoghue followed the book with many other works. To Bless the Space Between Us is another beautiful work. He published many collections of poetry. The poem I'm going to read today is from the collection Echoes of Memory, published in 2010. Well, we will read the poem first and then we will see what the poem is about. Banished Blessing. On the day when the weight deadens on your shoulders and you stumble, may the clay dance to balance you. And when your eyes freeze behind the grey window and the ghost of loss gets into you, may a flock of colors, indigo, red, green, and azure blue, come to awaken in you a meadow of delight. When the canvas frays in the courage of thought, and a stain of ocean blackens beneath you, may there come across the waters a path of yellow moonlight to bring you safely home. May the nourishment of the earth be yours. May the clarity of light be yours. May the fluency of the ocean be yours. May the protection of the ancestors be yours. And so may a slow wind work these words of love around you, an invisible clock to mend your life. So that's a poem. Um, Donahue had a word or two about the poem. So he says, this is a kind of blessing that Gaelic people used to have when they set out for important things in life, when they set out for a journey. So, this is like a spiritual ritual. So, what Donahue does in the poem is he is talking about the eternal conflict between human being and the world around him. And he says, when the weight deadens on your shoulders and you stumble, may the clay dance to balance you. That is the opening of the poem. So, uh, well, it will do good to remember that John O'Donoghue did his PhD, his doctoral thesis on the philosophy of Hegel. He went to Germany to study for his PhD program, and he enrolled in the same university, the Tübingen University, as Hegel had studied. And so he uh, created his thesis on the spiritual aspect of the phenomenology of spirit of Hegel. So, uh, what he took away from his doctoral work on Hegel is the idea that the world in which we live in, the material world, the natural world, is not so inanimate, it's actually animated with a spiritual meaning. Uh, the material landscape in which you live is not a passive thing. This has a positive influence on your growth as a human being. It can actually mold you, shape you, and even mentor you. So, this idea is visible in all the poems and all the works of John O'Donoghue. So, this particular poem called The Blessing is about the blessing that you can receive from the landscape, from the world around you, when you feel that the weight of life is pulling you down. So, he would say in the poem that when a stain of ocean blackens beneath you, may there come across the waters a path of yellow moonlight to bring you safely home. So, this redemptive power of the earth that can nourish you, redeem you into your spiritual essence, is underlying this particular poem. So he would say, may the nourishment of the earth be yours, may the clarity of light be yours, may the fluency of the ocean be yours, may the protection of the ancestors be yours. So, this is in essence the blessing. So, the blessing in this particular poem, as the title suggests, is a spiritual thing. And this spiritual ritual of blessing is bestowed upon you, upon me, upon every individual being by the world itself, the landscape itself. So, in other words, Donahue would call this the inner landscape of beauty. Just as the world around you, the material landscape around you is spiritual, your inner landscape is also spiritual. So, a union of the inner spirit and the world outside is what Donahue would envisage as the becoming of man if you follow the logic of Hegel, the evolution of the self. So, the growth of the self into its ultimate becoming is spiritual, but that spiritual evolution is to be carried out within this landscape. So, the material binding of the soul is something that has to be taken in, not something that has to be cut off. So, this is the essential meaning of the poem and the essential meaning of the works of Donahue in general and for us Indian readers. So this strikes us very close to many ideas in our own knowledge traditions. For example, Advaita Vedanta would talk about the Atman, the soul, being Brahman itself, the world itself. So, this union of the self and the world that we are very familiar with in our knowledge system is something that Donahue brings out in his poetry and in his teaching and in his works. So that's the beauty of the poem. When you read Western thinkers and writers like John O'Donoghue, or even William Wordsworth, or Meister Eckhart, another great mystic poet from German language, you will find that though they are molded in their thinking by the Western Christian theology and philosophy, which talks about the world and the soul being two different things. So they find a way of uniting them into a wonderful fusion through their thinking and writing. So this fusion of the self and the world is something that's very significant, and this element of unity is something that we strive to achieve in our own thinking. And so, in this particular context, poems like Blessing give us insights into how to understand ourselves as something that slowly grows into its final culminating being in the world itself. So, Donahue's poetry and poems of this kind could be also read, taking into consideration how people later in 20th century philosophers like Martin Heidegger, for example, saw the world as a kind of a place where the soul has to develop on its own. So Heidegger would call the human life as Dasein, which means being in the world. So the concept is complicated, but at the same time, so the concept wells being and the world together into the same realm. It is being in the world. The world is not separable from being. So our life, our self, our being is something that has to grow and attain maturity within the fold of landscape, the world, the earth around you. So this is the concept, and this concept is wonderfully expressed in this particular poem, Beannacht or Blessing by John O'Donoghue. So I suggest that when you get time, you should read the poems of John O'Donoghue, and particularly this particular poem. Thank you.